Podcasters, how are you all doing today out there in Indie Pod land? I'm Super Joe Pardo, and today on this Wisdom Wednesday, we're going to be talking about starting your podcast journey. So today, usually on Wisdom Wednesdays, we generally have a guest from the Icon community. Sometimes that doesn't always work out that way. Things fall through. Hey, if you're a podcaster and you have guests on your show, then you know what I'm talking about. Put it in the chat because we know that we know that sometimes it doesn't always work out. Well, today there actually was nobody signed up. I for some reason there was a gap in my calendar, so nobody was signed up. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna use this opportunity to to be talking about starting your podcast journey today, because there's so many things when you're first getting started, and I want you to anybody watching or listening, drop in the chat below where you are in your podcasting journey. Feel free to ask questions and pop in the chat where you're watching or listening from. For anyone who doesn't know, we do offer a totally free how to start your podcast ultimate guide. It's over at indiepodcasters.com/SAP. Hey, what's up, Super Tim Gillette? How are you doing? Are you finally recovered from this past weekend with your awesome blog and video con? Had the pleasure of speaking there, which was great. Hopefully someday I'll be able to do it live in person. I am definitely stoked for that opportunity to get to go to Texas and get to partake. So. Blah, 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 blah. So yeah, pop in the chat where you're watching from, what you're up to, and where you are in your podcasting journey. Are you episode 0? Are you episode 1? Are you episode 450? 3,000? Where are you in that podcasting journey? And while we get some of those chats in there, let me just say, if you want to learn more about launching, growing, and monetizing your podcast, then you absolutely should go over to indiepodu.com and check out all of the resources that we have there. It's a private community. There's over 150 hours of podcast video resources, tutorials, and more is getting poured in every single day. So you should totally go check it out. It's we have almost 30 members in the community now, and it is growing. And I suspect that the price won't be holding at the current price forever. So if it's something that you're interested in, it might be something to jump on sooner rather than later. Just throwing it out there. Also, don't forget September 12th and 13th. I got to update this ticker here. We are doing Icon 6. It's our annual event. This year it's 2 days. It's virtual, so you don't have to be in the room to do it, but we are going to do it in Zoom. So instead of doing this like Facebook Live thing, we'll be doing it in Zoom, so we'll all be able to see each other. The theme is the 80s, so I'm absolutely super excited about bringing getting everybody together to celebrate and another anniversary. In fact, here's the awesome layout from Super Larry Roberts, who designed all the artwork for this year's event. Very, very excited about it, and I think it really lends itself to the fact that everybody's supposed to get dressed up in their 80s attire. For anyone who doesn't know, we have fanny packs available this year. Big hair, Susan. What is going on? How are you doing today? It's gonna be fun. I wanted to bring something different to the table for this year's event because of the fact that we're in Zoom, and I've seen the posts, right? People are, I'm so sick of going into Zoom. I'm so tired of doing Zoom calls and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, well, maybe it's about the people, right? So That's the way I always look at it. And what I want to bring to the table is that we're gonna have fun, right? It's not Halloween, but it's gonna be a fun party. We're gonna learn podcasting. There's gonna be 2 workshops through in the event. There'll be time for networking. There's times built in for breaks. We have an incredible lineup of speakers as always, from the Icon community as well as newcomers to the Icon community. So you don't want to miss out. You should totally go check out indiepodcasters.com/icon6. Tickets are available now. They will probably be going up sometime next week in price, so don't delay, I would say. Also, tomorrow night, I can't wait for this. So we're doing the Build a Better sponsorship kit. It's a workshop. It's one night. It's 1 hour. It might be a little over an hour. If you go to indiepodcasters.com/workshop, sign up for that. You'll get, not only will you get the workshop, but you get 1 month free access to the IndiePod University. Speaking of the IndiePod University, if you want to get free access into it, you could win a spot by going to indiepodcasters.com/tube and hit that subscribe button. I think we're up to 34 or 35 subscribers now on our YouTube channel. So that's awesome. That's growth. Looking forward to that. Hey, Dave, how you doing? Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's a shame I haven't seen you in literally, not full 20 years, but probably at least 15 years in person. So hope you're doing well. I think you're down in, was it the Carolinas or Florida, something like that. I hope you're enjoying it down there outside of Jersey land. Susan says, great, tell us about it. So the I'm assuming that you were still talking about the workshop. So the workshop is happening tomorrow night. It's happening inside the IndiePod University Facebook group. So once you sign up, you'll get access. I got to send that email out today with the creation so that we can get everybody that's going to be at the workshop signed up and into the community to take part in it. So it'll be straight in the community. There'll be a link for you to jump in and ask video chat questions and things of that nature. Oh, you're talking about sponsorship. Sponsorship of Icon 6? Is that what you're? I'm not sure. There's always that delay, right? So I'm talking, and then I'm about 6, 7, 10 seconds ahead of when you're seeing it. By the time you type something, it's 15 seconds later. By the time I'm seeing it, I probably have already moved on. Are you talking about sponsorship for Icon 6, Susan? Because we are looking for sponsors for Icon 6. If you go over to indiepodcasters.com /icon6 and scroll down to our proud partners, there's a link up there that you, sponsorship. Oh, the sponsorship workshop. Yeah. So that is happening tomorrow. So in that, let me pull up my screen here. We can talk about it a bit here. Let's see. So this is for anybody who wants to build a better sponsorship kit. We're going to cover storytelling within your sponsorship kit, the creation, how I go about laying it out and what I leave, put in, the numbers and how we go about shaping the numbers and, finding what really what's going to move the needle for your people. And then how I go about putting together the packages. This will ultimately, it's supposed to be about an hour, but it might end up being a little bit longer. And I want to make sure I get all the questions answered that are out there. So there's only a day and 6 hours left, and then after this is done, the replay will go into the IndiePod University, and you'll have access to the IndiePod University for 1 month. So so if you go and go to indiepodcasters.com /workshop, you'll get to learn what you should be doing and what sponsors are looking for in that sponsorship kit. So I have tons of years and years of experience in doing this now, and I'm looking forward to helping you monetize your podcast. That's all part of the whole IndiePod, Pod U, or the Icon U, where it's launch, grow, and monetize. So this is a big part of that, and I'm looking forward to bringing not just this workshop, but workshop every single month to the IndiePod University. So yeah, storytelling, creation, the numbers, and the packages that you should be creating. Oh, you're very welcome, Susan. So I'm excited. It should be a good time. I gotta put together a couple of things to get it ready for tomorrow night. So if you want to go indiepodcasters.com/workshop. So anyway, if you guys have any questions, I'm gonna be using the indiepodcasters.com/how to start a podcast ultimate guide to really put in use it as a guide for what I want to talk about here today. As far as starting your podcast and why. Well, you got to start with like the why are you starting it, right? What are you looking to get out of it? What's the opportunity that you're looking to create for yourself? What's up, Mikey? How you been, man? I love to see your updates, man. It seems like you're doing big things there. Your icon's hilarious, by the way. Anyway, yeah. So like, what are you looking to get out of it? What's the goal? And if, hopefully the goal is to build something around it, whether it's an organization or more clients or more, bigger customer base, better trust with the customers you already have. Like, put the goal out there, and then you'll know like whether or not you're reaching that goal, because it's going to be really obvious pretty quickly if you're achieving it, whether or not people are listening to it, whether or not you're getting feedback, because that could be one of the biggest things. So like, one of the things I love about doing this show, specifically in the online, live streaming it, is that I get this instant feedback from the people that are watching and interacting with the content, versus like, you put out a podcast episode and you just like, I've been there for years and years, right? Like you whittle, and then like you get that one email like, oh man, like I love this show and it's so great and keep up the great work. And then it's like flatline. And then like maybe a week or 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or a month or something goes by, and like another person comes in, another 2 emails come in. It's really, it can be hard to get that feedback, and because people, that while they're actively listening, they're listening in a way that doesn't necessarily lend itself to like picking up their phone and just texting you, right? Because they might be doing something that they can't do that right in the moment, so they have to remember about it. So being able to craft a podcast around as much storytelling as possible can really, I think, really help with that, right? Getting people to get involved with the story and being a part of it, like becoming a part of it and becoming a part of the narrative that you're telling is really, I mean, it's so powerful for people that are listening, right? And that's why watching, doing these lives is so much, it's so much quicker, because I'm like, hey, look, the chat's literally right here. I can just pop a chat, pop the comment right up. I can read it, and bam, it's in the podcast. Now, with that said, it can feel like some people are being left out. So you have to really find a balance of how you want to craft your show. But that's a whole nother thing, right? So like, to me, it's all about starting out with, what's the goal, right? Setting that goal. Dave says, sorry, phone died. Live in Port St. Lucie, Florida. Family is good. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Dave. Glad to hear that your family's doing well down there in Florida. Hopefully that continues to be the case. So setting that goal really helps set the tone of like where, how you want to go about constructing the podcast. And it's really easy to get kind of bogged down with like the tech of it. Like, should I have this microphone, that mixer, versus having a USB, or should I just literally talk into my phone? Should I use a camera with a microphone? Should I just use my iPad? Or if I have a MacBook, like MacBook has great microphones. And the new one is good. It's not great, but it's not the worst by far. Mike says we have just got permission to have a recorded podcast slotted into our radio show on Twitch. You just saw we received our second check. Still searching. Yes, no, congratulations. Make that money, man. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. It's going to come together, and it's going to come together for you. Like you said, still searching more content every day. LOL. It is it's a grind, and it's trying to find the right topics to bring up and the right things to bring to the table, and what your audience, because that's the other thing is like, you start out thinking, I know who my audience is, and what you find out is you might actually not know who your audience is, because you think you're going to start out talking to men of a certain age, and you end up talking to women who are trying to attract them into blah 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 thing, because blah 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 thing. Like, it's it's kind of crazy. It doesn't always work out the way that we think it is, but what you need to do is you start somewhere, and then you go back and you see what's working, what's not working, and you eventually will figure out who is listening, and then start to tailor that content in that vein, as long as you're comfortable with it too, right? Like, I could talk about Disney, but I don't think, while a lot of my people would be probably very ecstatic about me talking about Disney all the time, I don't think that I would necessarily be ecstatic about talking about Disney all the time. Susan says, I'm brand new and there's so much to learn and to keep myself organized. Yes, there is a lot to learn, but it doesn't have to be super complicated. Like, you can start with just the ear pods talking into your phone, so you have a good, pretty isolated microphone, as long as you're not rubbing it up against your collar or anything when you're like talking. And then you're talking into your phone. I mean, that's how Anchor got so big so quick, because people just like, oh, I have the app, and oh, now my podcast is up. How about that? But if you want to take it really seriously, and if you want to take it really seriously, then you need to be doing your homework. And as far as who is this show going to be for? What's really the goal of this show? What's the call to actions that I want to put? Always be calling to action, right? That's my ABCs. Always be calling to action. And then everything else kind of starts to fall into place. Like, worrying about the tech, worrying about the editing and stuff like that. Mikey I started with a headset, a phone, and Spotify. Yeah, there you go, man. Like, there's very little in the way of rules. That's one of the best rules of podcasting, is there is no rules. We are controlling and building our own platform. It's not a platform that is already established. So like, when you put up your website, it's not YouTube. So there's millions and millions of people going to it already. So we have to build that from the ground up, right? And we have to build that trust. We have to build that enjoyment of listening to the show. We have to build our own skills, like, as the Dave Jackson, who is closing out our Icon 6 event on September 13th, has said countless times over the years, stop asking how you get paid, start asking how I get good, so that people want to get involved and pay me in different ways. So it is absolutely always the number one. And I always say, put in the reps, right? That's the number one thing. If I could go back and redo, I've been doing this for over 6 years. If I could go back and do it again, the number one thing I would do is not worry about editing the show, because all the 6 years later, all those episodes, while they're still great, probably didn't matter that enough, move the needle enough to matter at the time, and no amount of 2 hours of editing was going to change that. And the fact that it was like, you edit this episode that's an hour long down to 59 minute, or 58 minutes or 56 minutes. A lot of that could have probably just flew under the radar, because they're committed to an hour long show at that point. So it's not like, oh, I edited it an hour show. I edited it. It doesn't sound like I'm saying it right. When you edit an hour long show and gets cut down to say, oh, we cut it down to like 28 minutes. Well, now you're talking about a big savings. Like, was it a bunch of dead air? Was it a bunch of nonsense you were talking about? Like, those are things that's like, okay, well, you need to tighten yourself up as a host, and then you'll start to move, be able to move forward with it. But you spending 2 hours of time to edit, 3 minutes, 4 minutes of ums or dead space in the grand scheme of things is not going to make a difference. They're not going to share the episode more. It's not going to win anybody over out of the gate, especially like because again, it comes back to you putting in the reps. So Susan says, I'm using Hindenburg Learning. So ding ding for that, for learning, and about to launch. Have my niche. Have Apple and SoundCloud accounts. So awesome. So that's awesome to hear. I got to check out Hindenburg at DC Podfest back in October. I think it was October or November of last year, and it was cool. It sounds really cool. I mean, again, depending on the type of show that you're putting out, sometimes the information is more important than the how you edit it and make it sound like next level, especially because sometimes like, it's not that there isn't times where you can edit, like you can spend that time editing. It's like if there's okay, we're recording on the side of a street and there was some really obnoxious like horn beeping or something that's like way beyond like a little bit in the background or something, you might take a minute or so to fix that. But my argument then would be, take a pen, write timestamps down as you're recording, because you should be taking notes as you're doing those interviews of anything that stands out in your mind, so to come back to it, and then edit backwards and cut those things out as they happened. That really is the number one thing that you can do, because then all of a sudden it's like you're not spending 2 hours editing an episode, you're spending like 10 minutes, and you move on to get ready for the next one. Because the other side of it is worrying more about getting the message in front of people than worrying about like how it sounds or I mean, putting in the reps is important out of the gate, but after a while it starts to become like, how am I going to get this message to break through and get people to listen to it? That's, to me, is more important at a certain point. So early on, get the reps, do as many interviews as you can, record as many episodes as you can, get in front of the camera as often as you can, the microphone as often as you can. Then the next step is, worry about how am I going to market these pieces of content? How am I going to chop these pieces of content up and reutilize them so that people it's getting in front of the eyeballs, right? And the earballs. So that I think is really some of the key things that you should be looking at doing when you're just getting started in your podcasting journey is, putting in the reps. Don't worry so much about the editing. Get it to sound good. If you can get the quality to sound about 70% of the way there, the content will carry it the rest of the way. The storytelling will carry it the rest of the way. And if you're just getting started, again, go back to like, how do I get good? Then I can start to worry about like, how do I get money? Now, with that said, I've done a show where we had sponsors out of the gate before we even had a show. It took us, it felt like forever. It felt like 4 months or something from the time we took those first checks from the sponsors to when we actually started to produce the show. And it's not impossible, but you got to have the right alignment with like the right sponsors, the right messaging, the right everything. Everything's got to come together just right. And that's sometimes can be tough right out of the gate. If you don't have like a marketing background, if you haven't done stuff like this before, as Susan said, there's so much to learn. So it's really, it can get kind of overbearing as to where you should start, where you should look. And And then, I would also say, like, when you're just getting started, like, look at what other people are doing in that niche, and then find a way to do it differently, right? If you don't have a way that you've already come up with in your mind to, like, this is how I want to structure the show, these are the kind of questions I want to ask, this is the kind of people I want to have on the show, this is the kind of products that I want to put out there, like, do some Google searches, see what other people are doing, right? And find out, like, okay, so I don't want to rip off or basically steal somebody else's idea, but what you do is you look at it and say, okay, I'm going to do something on totally different. Hopefully your idea out of the gate is different, but if it's not, like, look at what they're doing and then go back to the drawing board and figure out how to do it differently, at least enough so that it appears like it's coming across differently, because that can be sometimes just putting it like a different spin on something can be different. And also, at the same time, don't be worried that there's other podcasts that are doing the same thing, because they're not you. They're not you. They don't have your message. They don't have your experience. They don't have your background, and that is what people are going to identify with when they're listening to your voice, day in and day out, over and over and over again. So don't be afraid, but at least try to find some other narrow niche or some other way. One of the things I always try to do too is look at other industries, look at other niches, look at other forms out there, and figure out, like, okay, they're doing it like this. If I brought this to the gardening, like, it would be totally different, right? So expand what you're looking at for when you're trying to get ideas, and, like, pick and choose ideas from, like, other industries and niches, because when you bring it to your gardening niche, like, they're going to be like, I've never heard anything like this before. Like, of course you haven't, because we're picking ideas out of other industries, other niches and things of that nature. So do things like that. So I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm just going to wrap up here saying Icon 6, September 12th and 13th. It's going to be it's on Zoom, so we'll all be in one room, face-to-face in that Zoom room. It's an 80s theme, so get you out your 80s attire and 80s trinkets and apparel and stuff, and we're going to have some fun over those September 12th and 13th. Tickets are on sale right now at indiepodcasters.com/icon6. Also, tomorrow night is the Learn to Build a Better sponsorship kit. It's our first workshop inside of the Indie Pod University. If you purchase your ticket over at indiepodcasters.com/workshop, then you will get 1 month of Indie Pod University as well with your purchase. So go do that, and I will see you tomorrow is at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. What else do we got? Free Ride Friday is coming up, so if you want to get 1 month of free access, potentially, if you win it, to the IndiePod University, go to indiepodcasters.com/tube, hit the subscribe button, and also, if you want to get featured on indiepodcasters.com, go to grabalisten.com and fill out the form. And we'll be probably in another week or two. I know we keep pushing it off. We have a handful of submissions, and I do plan on getting to them. So please be patient. Just trying to work through all of this IndiePod Icon 6 stuff going on, as well as the merch. The merch is available over at youricongear.com. If you head over to youricongear.com, you can purchase the limited edition t-shirt that is being printed for the Icon 6 event. So if you haven't seen it, go over there, check it out. Actually, I can pull it up because I still have my screen shared here. So the merch for the event is, we have a women's cut t-shirt, as well as a unisex high quality t-shirt that has this is the logo on the left arm, and this is the logo on the shirt. So looking forward to getting my version of that. This is the female tri-blend. So that doesn't have the logo on the sleeve apparently, but these do. That's part of the limited editionness of it. This shirt might come back after Icon 6, but it definitely won't have the IndiePod Con virtual logo on the sleeve. So we also have like phone cases and stickers and of course we gotta have the fanny pack, right? Like how could you not have a fanny pack and have an 80s party? Like it would be kind of crazy not to. That was all those graphics were provided fabulously by Larry Roberts over at readilyrandom.com. He is an icon in our community. So thankful for that. And actually, I got to update this because it's just a September 12th. I have a updated one somewhere. I'll have to get that version of that picture. But anyway, yeah. So I look forward to tomorrow. I was supposed to have on Icon Charlie from our community to do a training Thursday. But maybe what I'll do tomorrow is I'll just come on and we'll talk about a topic related to sponsorships to get people amped up for tomorrow night's workshop on building a better sponsorship kit. So anyway, remember everybody, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat in the comments. I'll be around checking them out, and I will see you all tomorrow. And never forget that you are a leader because you are a podcaster, and as such, you should always be looking to lead with love. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.